Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the VAU Mic Check. And today we have a nice little compact, short, but more than likely challenging because short scripts can be challenging too.
Well, short scripts are usually challenging.
Yes. I was explaining that to my wife just last night. I said, try a four-word tagline. Definitely challenging. Now, this isn't a four-word tagline, but it is several sentences and, has emotional highs and lows. Since Dash is not here, I'm not going to use that term. Oh, I guess I will.
Peaks and valleys. Peaks and valleys.
Peaks and valleys. No, the funny thing about these short scripts is it's always that with the longer scripts, you have more time to tell the story. With the shorter ones, you have the same amount. You have much less time to share the same amount of story. So it's always an interesting challenge when you get these short scripts.
Oh, yes, it is.
Well, with that, do we have a volunteer to go first? Because if not, I'll just go.
I think I'll take this one. No, wait a minute. You know what? John said something last week about going.
You have a good memory.
Oh.
Yes, I do. Yep, you said it before we finished.
All right, John. Well, you have
Called me out
on the spot.
Yeah, I was the guy lurking in the shadows until, last or second to last for the last few weeks. So, yeah, fair's fair.
Well, whenever you're ready, go ahead and jump on in.
Cheerios and fruit. Nah, that was bad already. Take two. Cheerios and fruit. Some couples were just made for each other. For a taste you can fall in love with again and again. Berry Burst Cheerios. Nah.
Why no?
Too much the tagline. Didn't like the tagline. That's what's coming out of my mouth. Now go ahead and land me for self-critiquing.
Yeah, no, drop the self-critique because it sounded pretty good.
How about the intro?
Weigh yourself down with overthinking.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. Leading up to the end, though, that I'd like to point out is you, for a taste you can fall in love with again and again, Berry Burst Cheerios. Those two sentences, you instead of a period, you put in a comma.
Yes.
For a taste you can fall in love with again and again, Berry Burst Cheerios. This is beyond the shadow of a doubt. This is definitely a TV script.
Oh yeah.
So, probably at that point, what's going on screen is I can just imagine because Cheerios, for some reason, has been really targeting an older audience.
We go.
Have you noticed that in the commercials before?
Yeah. Heart healthy.
Yeah, exactly. So what I'm seeing is probably like a married couple, eating Cheerios together and smiling. It's sort of that. It's sort of that feel that seems to be coming off because this is definitely a marketed to an older audience, people who already are familiar with love and relationships.
Yeah.
So that definitely needs to be its separate idea rather than a connector to the tagline.
Yeah, I didn't really have enough time to sort of think it through like you're saying here, but those are some pretty good clues. I'm thinking 20 seconds on this, probably.
Oh, it's probably still a 30-second spot. You just have a lot of wiggle room here.
Yeah, because the big thing is if it's a 30-second spot, even if what you're doing isn't going to fill that 30 seconds, they're going to have a lot of video to put in between the lines.
That's what I'm thinking. They'll edit it for whatever pause they need.
Yeah, exactly.
As long as you get the feeling through that they're looking for. So yeah, I'm thinking the way it would play out would be probably a few seconds here, a couple seconds there between these lines.
Yeah.
So just take it a line at a time, and just be conversational with it.
All right, here we go. Cheerios and fruit. Some couples were just made for each other. For a taste you can fall in love with again and again. Berry Burst Cheerios. I put the comma in there again, didn't I?
Not too much.
No, it was pretty apparent.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really noticed the comma.
Because the inflection on the last again, it just sounded like I was leading into. Yeah, there's a difference between again and again and again and again. Just that little bit of difference there. It tells you, stop or this is connected.
What I would do is separate that Berry Burst Cheerios from the other sentence by maybe taking it in your editor and putting it down a line. So you have basically 4 lines. You start with Cheerios and fruit, then some couples, then for a taste, and then Berry Burst Cheerios.
Okay, I did not copy and paste this yet.
Oh, man.
I'm lazy.
Come on.
That explains it. Because
that's at least 6 clicks, guys. Come on.
I know, horrible, isn't
simple it? Something like Notepad, Windows.
Well, to be honest, my computer is not feeling well today. It is lagging so badly. I have the Windows 10 version, the one where they literally update it a couple of times a week. And every time they do, I have to go back and put my drivers in and fix stuff the way I like it. And it seems like whatever they did this time, not good.
Oh, man.
Very, very slow. It's very frustrating. I would actually be interested in going back to 7 at this point.
It seems like Microsoft's whole philosophy with these new OS updates is, put out a product that's 70% good and we'll patch the rest of the 30% in afterwards.
Yeah. It's a good thing they don't make cars.
Oh my gosh. Can you imagine having to go back to the shop to have like the steering wheel installed?
Yeah. We're going to have to swap out your engine, sir. Hope you don't mind.
I'm sorry, it's going to take 2 hours for us to update your Sirius XM radio.
All right. While we were engaging in that wonderful banter, I posted it onto or pasted it rather onto Word here, so it makes a little bit more sense. So let's give it a try.
That makes for better script editing. I mean, you can't do as much, but it'll help you to do enough to make sure that you can see where your words are.
Yeah, you make a good point. I mean, just putting it as 4 separate and distinct sentences, it already looks and feels different to me instead of just reading it as a paragraph. So
it'll throw away that comma for you.
Yeah.
It was kind of odd though, because to me it sounded like there was a good long pause in there, but I think it may be, the way my head works. 1 second is an eternity for somebody
there was a decent pause, but it was still more of a comma than a period.
Yeah, absolutely. I heard it. It was the inflection. I just didn't trail down and pitch a little bit on the again.
All right. Whenever you're ready, go for it.
Cheerios and fruit. Some couples were just made for each other. For a taste you can fall in love with again and again. Berry Burst Cheerios.
Okay.
Needs a little bit more of a smile.
Yep, I hear you.
And take a little bit of time with the cherries or with the Cheerios and fruit.
Okay.
So like Cheerios and fruit, because the whole idea is that it's a completely new combination. Cheerios and you'd go with Cheerios and milk because it's cereal, but Cheerios. But this is a whole new combination that nobody's expecting. Cheerios and fruit.
I was wondering what the inflection should have been on fruit there as I first started reading through this. So you think you need to kind of accentuate it and maybe raise the pitch a little bit on it just to make it pop a little bit?
I think so, because that's the product. That's it, you're accentuating the difference. It's not just Cheerios, but it's Cheerios and fruit. This is the twist to our classic formula. We're adding the fruit.
Yeah. Okay. Is this a real thing? Berry Burst Cheerios?
Yeah, it is actually.
Okay. All right, we'll have that in mind. Cheerios and fruit. Some couples were just made for each other. For a taste you can fall in love with again and again. Berry Burst Cheerios. One more time with a little smile. Cheerios and fruit. Some couples were just made for each other. For a taste you can fall in love with again and again. Berry Burst Cheerios. All right, how was take 8?
Oh, that darn mute button. You still feel pretty unsure about that that first Cheerios and fruit part.
Yeah, they stuck the tagline in the beginning there, didn't they? Well, sort of 2 taglines, I should say.
Yeah, this one has multiple taglines, as it would seem. But yeah, I would remove the accent or the emphasis off of Cheerios and put it on fruit more.
Yeah,
like Cheerios is more of just the basic introduction. Cheerios, yeah, that's expected from a Cheerios commercial because you've probably already seen some of the cereal being poured into a bowl and then having the milk splashed all over it because nobody ever pours milk like that, like they do in commercials.
Yeah,
where it all just splashes everywhere and you got cereal and milk flying all over the place
from across the room.
Yeah, it makes great beauty shots, but holy crap, it is not like that in real life.
Hey, Mom's gonna get mad.
You pull the camera back, and the milk jug is laying on the table sideways. There's stuff spilled all over the floor. The dog's lapping milk up, and the kid's going, "I made breakfast."
But yeah, so Cheerios is sort of Cheerios and fruit. Like that's the twist. The twist is fruit.
Yeah, that was actually pretty good the way you just read it. Okay. Cheerios, nope. Cheerios and fruit. Some couples were just made for each other. For a taste you can fall in love with again and again. Berry Burst Cheerios.
All right, how did that feel to you?
I think little by little, I might be getting closer to what they were looking for here, but this one seems to be giving me a little more trouble than some of the scripts in the past, needless to say.
Well, since we have so few people on the mic check right now, why don't we go ahead and do the round robin thing? We'll come back.
All right.
That way
I was
you
hoping
can
you'd say that.
I kind of figured that too.
Yeah. Let me listen to a couple other pros do this, and I'll maybe learn something.
All right, Nathan, would you like to go next, or?
Yes, I would.
Okay, whenever you're ready, Nathan, go for it.
Cheerios and fruit. Some couples were just made for each other. For a taste you can fall in love with again and again. Berry Burst Cheerios.
Plenty of smile there. That's for sure.
Plenty smile. So the things that I noticed that I'd like to see different in that performance. One would be the speed. I really like to hear it slowed down quite a bit.
Okay.
And the second would be you also put a comma at the end instead of a period between the two lines.
I thought I caught that. That wasn't a self-criticism. I just actually heard it.
Yeah, you definitely put the comma. For a taste you can fall in love with again and again, Berry Burst Cheerios. That's what you did.
Yeah, I didn't button up on that last again.
Yeah, it's a separate idea.
And to Michael's point, I would have liked to hear a little bit more emphasis on fruit.
Because actually, see, Berry Burst Cheerios is product name, so Berry Burst Cheerios. Yeah. So. I'm going to fix that emphasis. Cheerios and fruit. Some couples were just made for each other. For a taste you can fall in love with again and again. Berry Burst Cheerios.
All right. John, what did you think of that one?
More emphasis on the Cheerios and less on the fruit on that take, but I do like the way you emphasized some of the other key words in there. The fall in love part seemed to grab me a little bit more, which I think was missing in mine.
And once again, like I'd like to see this. I personally like to hear it slowed down a bit more and warmed up, because this is because what it sounds like is one of those sort of like, I don't know, intimate mornings where it's just like you and your loved one, and just enjoying some cereal together.
Cheerios and fruit. Some couples were just made for each other. For a taste you can fall in love with again and again. Berry Burst Cheerios.
All right.
One thing I noticed, maybe minor, is between Berry Burst and Cheerios, it seemed like you separated those two into kind of two different thoughts instead of just running it all together, as one name.
Yeah, I paused ever so slightly right there.
Yeah, they really had an emphasis on that burst.
Yeah, mind you, when I say that, I'm not self-criticizing. There's these things that I can hear it.
Believe me, I think by now we can tell the difference between self-criticism and, yeah, I noticed that.
I'm just letting all the new guys know.
I think there's a subtle difference there.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like when Nathan and I were talking about, I still have the headphones on, and I catch more stuff that bothers me with them on than listening to it through a monitor later.
Yeah, what I know I keep sharing a lot of Nancy Wolfson stuff, but that's just because I've been working with her a lot. What Nancy Wolfson suggests is to only use the headphones to get your levels right. And whenever you're actually performing, to take them off and just go with your performance.
Exactly. Which I'm using half a headphone just so I can hear you guys.
Yeah, same here. I'm only using half headphone right now as
That's
well.
my take direction headphone use, is I leave one off so I can listen to myself, and I leave one on so I can listen to my director.
Well, I have to invest in a set of powered studio monitors here, so right now the headphones are my only playback choice, but I'm totally getting the importance of it.
Well, in my tiny little booth, that's all I've got, so I'm good. That's okay. Cheerios and fruit. Some couples were just made for each other. For a taste you can fall in love with again and again. Berry Burst Cheerios.
I think that was much better.
Yeah, it was. I still kind of noticed the comma at the end, though. Would you mind if I went so I could just sort of give an example of what I've been thinking for this script? All right.
Please do.
Cheerios and fruit. Some couples were just made for each other. For a taste you can fall in love with again and again. Berry Burst Cheerios.
I think it was pretty good. The only thing I would say is just the inflection on the tagline at the end.
I probably should button that up a bit more.
Just a slight sort of downward pitch on the Cheerios at the end, I think, would have warmed it up a little bit.
Okay. Cheerios and fruit. Some couples were just made for each other. For a taste you can fall in love with again and again. Berry Burst Cheerios.
Yeah, very, very good. Good take.
Yeah, that's sort of what what I was trying to go for is the whole one of those warm, sunny mornings, you and, your spouse, your significant other, your loved one. I don't even know exactly how to refer to that anymore.
I don't know. I keep picturing this as being a follow-up to the Cialis commercial.
There you go.
Wow.
The next day, they're having Cheerios and fruit.
But yeah, it's just the idea that I had with it is just this warm, loving, somewhat intimate morning between two people.
Yeah, are they still in their two tubs side by side or what?
The object, the object of these couple, the object of this couple is Cheerios and fruit. So you have Cheerios on one side of it and fruit on the other.
Yeah. Of course, you're talking about they have the sun shining through the window at a certain angle, and you can see the breakfast table. You can see the couple. They're hugging and doing what couples do in the morning, and
Well, maybe not doing everything that couples do in the morning, but whatever's appropriate for TV. But
snorting, burping, and farting. Okay, that's what we do in the morning.
Yeah, maybe after they get all that out of the way.
Yeah, that's the Cheerios, baby.
But yeah, I think that you really captured what I believe their intent was there. So it's a very good read.
Well, back around to you, John.
All right. Yeah, I like the way you, when you were giving me feedback on, the opening line there, and the way you did, I think you were looking for me to emphasize fruit. I think you nailed it there. I get what you were hoping to hear now. So hopefully I can emulate that.
Well, give it a try.
Cheerios and fruit. Some couples were just made for each other. For a taste you can fall in love with again and again. Berry Burst Cheerios.
All right. Nathan, what did you think of that take?
That was good. It sounds like he was made for this commercial.
I think that Michael made a pretty good comment early on when he was kind of describing the feel that they were trying to get. I see that, what the target audience for this is, and I think you sort of envision what the video behind this would be with that in mind. So that it kind of helped firm it up in my mind a little bit. You being in the business so much longer than me, who was about 7 minutes here, I've been doing this. You've got a natural feel for what goes with what, and you can sort of picture what the whole package is going to be like, just sort of from reading this. And I, of course, lack that skill at this point, and I could use that sort of direction. We're seeing these scripts that don't have a little direction ahead of time. Middle-aged couple, sunny morning, happy to be having breakfast together, etc. To kind of set the stage. So you're doing that in your head because you know better, and I'm
Well, I mean, there's always there's always subtle clues that you can, that you glean, and it really helps hearing other people read it beforehand. Actually, if it's just me, so I definitely don't have the easiest of times always parsing out exactly what needs to be in the script. But when you start reading a script, there are always subtle clues. For instance, the TV scripts are usually written very oddly when it comes to actual speaking, because sometimes there are things that don't seem to make any sense. There are sentences that don't seem to link together properly. It feels like there's only half a story generally when you read a television script. They're also written somewhat poetically in short sentences. Generally, you could stack, all of the sentences on top of each other if you separate all of them with line spaces and you center it all. It'll almost seem like a haiku or a poem. That is how you can really parse out whether or not it's a television script. So this one is definitely a TV script because of that. Cheerios and fruit, not necessarily a proper full sentence, but they're breaking it up as a sentence because the rest of the sentence is shown on screen.
Yes, of course. Yeah, the imagery is what's telling the story.
Yeah. Then when it comes to sort of the other details around it, like where to put emphases and things like that, it's you got to understand that obviously advertisers are trying to sell people things, and when they're trying to sell the same brand over and over again, they have to make differences about that brand. They have to emphasize the differences in that brand. So, for instance, for this commercial, the difference is they've added fruit. So if you're going to be hired for this particular script, realize that the fruit is the selling point and not necessarily just the Cheerios.
Of course.
The Cheerios, the brand Cheerios has been around for forever, but Cheerios and fruit, well, sometimes I've sliced bananas into Cheerios or strawberries or whatever when I have the gumption to do so in the morning when I'm groggy and I haven't had my morning coffee or whatever. And now the company has done that for you. Cheerios and fruit. The some couples are just made for each other. To me, sounds like, it's a double entendre there. Because obviously now you have...
Oh, yeah.
Because if you think about where it's been marketed, like I mentioned before, it's always been marketed to older people now. Because it's an older brand, heart healthy, everything like that. You think about all of the history of their branding, and with this line, it just makes sense that this is actually a couple. This is
absolutely
on screen is like a married couple, maybe even older, just enjoying a bowl of berry burst Cheerios together. I don't know, some cheesy thing like that.
Yeah, there's no doubt that this is. You had the perfect term for it, double entendre. I mean, from the first time I read it, I had no doubt that there would be a couple sitting there smiling at each other, eating their breakfast.
Well, that's really it. Like, context clues are really the only way you're gonna interpret scripts. The best way to break it down is, how is it written? If there is a full-on story, like, something sort of comedic at the beginning leading into the product towards the end, if there's a full story that you're telling, it's likely it's a radio script. If it's a partial story that you're telling, more than likely it's a TV script. What's the brand history? One of the things that it was absolutely emphasized to me over and over again is the fact that when you're going to do an audition and you're not necessarily super familiar with the brand, even if you are familiar with the brand, go onto Google, go onto YouTube, and look up ads that they've run before.
That's a good idea,
because that company has paid those people to do that, so they're looking for for that. They're looking for what sells.
Well, I appreciate that. I really never thought of YouTube as being a resource for, seeing commercials and.
Oh yeah, it's a fantastic way to do it. Pay attention to their branding lately. I mean, if you have TV, obviously you've seen commercials. If you listen to the radio, obviously you've heard the radio commercials, although I wouldn't suggest listening to talk radio because, all of their commercials are done in-house and they're pretty terrible regardless.
Awful.
God, in-house commercials.
Yeah, in-house commercials are pretty bad. But you listen to those full produced radio commercials on like most music channels. That's the kind of stuff that the company's going to buy, and that's the kind of branding they're going to stick with. So make sure to go onto YouTube, listen to the radio, things like that. Make sure you know how the brand is selling. Again, that's how I sort of came up with the idea of this is definitely marketed to a couple, a married couple more likely, because lately Cheerios has been branding to an older audience. They've they still have I forget what the B that they use.
Oh yeah, Honey Nut Cheerios.
Yeah, the Honey Nut Cheerios. Like that's more for the younger crowd. When the regular Cheerios is more for the older crowd. But this Berry Burst Cheerios seems to be marketed also to the older crowd.
Consistent work for Billy West.
Oh, there you go.
Because he is the Honey Nut Cheerios bee.
Was it? I didn't know that.
He's the Honey Nut Cheerios bee, and also he's the red M&M.
Oh, okay.
Same guy. But so yeah, it's how is it written? What's the branding been like, or what's the branding context, and who's the audience? The audience may be a little bit more difficult to parse, but if you think about the product, if you answer those other two questions, you can probably assume the third one with relative confidence.
Yeah.
All right. Nathan, you want to?
Yeah, I will take this one.
All right. And Takia, are you going to read for us today?
Yes, I will.
Yeah, let's give her a shot. Haven't heard from you yet.
I was waiting for my turn.
Oh, yeah, it's your turn. Yeah, sorry, it's your turn.
All right. Cheerios and fruit. Some couples were just made for each other. For a taste you can fall in love with again and again. Berry Burst Cheerios.
Not bad.
Yeah, your reading's gotten much, much better.
Oh, yeah.
Over time.
And with confidence.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think you hit all the pauses properly, brought out all the thoughts of the phrases that are separate and distinct phrases just right. I wouldn't change a thing, really.
Thanks. I've read it maybe 5 times by now, and the first few times I did it, I said, that doesn't really. The way that I was reading it was kind of the other way that you were explaining how not to do it, and I was kind of reading it that way, and I was like, that kind of doesn't sound right the way I was reading it. So
yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
You know, Michael made a comment that the word fruit really, how you emphasize that is key here, and I think he helped me out a lot on my read, but I think you must have picked up on that because you didn't overemphasize it, you didn't underemphasize it. It just, it stood out just enough from the Cheerios to point out the fact that fruit's the new thing here and is the key to the commercial. And I think that you did real well.
Thanks.
All right. Well, you can go again if you want to, or you can go ahead and pass the torch if you'd like.
I'll pass the torch.
Okay. Well, Nathan, I believe we were going to hand this off to you.
Okay. Cheerios and fruit. Some couples were just made for each other. For a taste you can fall in love with again and again. Berry Burst Cheerios.
I like the emphasis on made.
Mm-hmm. That's what I heard too.
It was a good one.
Yeah, it needed to be punched up just a shade to make it work for some couples were just made for each other. Because, you see a couple walking down the street and, you would make that comment. It's like, man, some couples are just made for each other.
Yeah, you had a completely different view on what you saw to emphasize on that than what I did. I thought maybe the whole phrase made for each other as opposed to just made for each other. It gives it a different feel, but I kind of like it a little better.
One little thing that I did through that was pointing, and on For a Taste You Can Fall in Love With, I kind of hugged myself.
Not just smile, but hug myself.
Yeah, smile and hug. It's all warm.
That was another thing. When I was going through my initial training in voiceover, I was told to, if nothing else, at least have surgeon hands when you're at the microphone.
Okay, you have to tell me what you mean by surgeon hands.
So when a surgeon scrubs up and is ready to go into the OR and perform an operation, how they have their hands up in the air, Well,
Okay.
Yeah, just don't have your hands down beside you as much.
Really?
Yeah, because what it does is with your hands up, at least if they're just up, it's doing something with them, and acting behind the microphones really does help out.
It really does.
So, if you're saying "excuse me," are you saving that seat there? If you actually point at a seat when you're in the microphone, or when you're behind the microphone in the booth, it's "excuse me." Are you saving that seat there? It changes it up a little bit. So any little action that you can take can really affect the read, and Nathan just showed that with his read.
Yeah, I was having this conversation with my daughter last night, as a matter of fact, because she had just done a 6-minute poetry read on mic in front of a crowd for the first time in her life. And she did really well. And for some reason, YouTube would not let me see the video, but I could hear her talking. And she's like, well, I punched the air. Did you see that? I said, no, but I felt it. She's like, I was like, well, let me explain how that works for a voice actor. Because she did a really good job of putting her emotion and her body into her read, which was not bad for her first time, and she should really get into this business. I'm not just my kid.
But yeah, a little bit of physical motion definitely helps with your read. It definitely emphasizes the points that need emphasis, but finding where to add that little motion without bumping into something is it's definitely a unique challenge for everyone's home studio.
See the adjustments I had to make in here.
I have a question about that. You're being animated while you're reading alone in your booth. We've all seen all the new animated movies that are coming out, Pixar and the like. Usually at the end, they'll have some reels of, all these A-list actors that are doing the voices for them. And you'll see them doing their reads, their character reads. You don't really see them move that much. A lot of times you'll see them with headphones on. I suppose that's probably necessary in that environment. But, you don't see them gesticulating and, flailing about or whatever when they're excited. But then I've seen videos where voice actors who are just, not on camera generally, that are animated.
Go online and watch Mark Hamill's Joker.
Okay.
They actually have it on YouTube. Mark Hamill doing the Joker for Batman animated series.
And that's Mark Hamill, is it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's Mark Hamill.
Yeah, it's Mark
Luke
Hamill.
Skywalker went from
He-
Star Wars to Batman.
He gets
Oh.
inside the character gets inside him, and he gets inside the character, and I mean, he's just Joker all over while he's on mic.
Yeah, or if you can, videos of Robin Williams playing the genie.
Yes.
He is all over the place.
Yeah, that's just got to be awesome to watch.
It is, and the thing of it is that is the example of doing animation.
Mm-hmm.
I heard Stevie Valance put it this way: you should walk out of the booth sweating after doing real animation.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you do.
So that's there's a lot of power in being animated behind the microphone, and it'll separate a good voice actor from a not very good one.
I got another example for you too, and I posted it, I think, on the Mic Check Facebook page, and I labeled it "When the director tells you you are a character, be that character." And I had a camera on in here during a mic check and recorded myself doing a pirate after Michael had directed me, "Nathan, you are a pirate." And so, and you can see the glasses come off, and I just dive into that character.
Avasti Mehi.
Oh, yeah. That sort of thing.
I didn't feel very much pirate coming from that.
Well, because I'm sitting down and.
Well, that's fine. You may be sitting down, but take your hand and just make a finger hook and Avasti Mehi.
Yeah, I got to rework this booth, so I'm standing up. I hear that now. Yeah, absolutely.
If you have room to move, use it. That's all I've got to say is use it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm fixing to rearrange my booth just a little more. I'm standing up, and I have room to move, but I could give myself just a few more inches.
So yes, for scripts, make sure you pay attention to how they're written. Make sure that you. I was going to review everything, but then I forgot all that I said. Well, it's in the recording anyway.
Yeah, make sure you're with your hands. You're doing the surgical thing.
Yeah, at least surgeon hands. At least surgeon hands.
And, there's little things that you will add on to that as you go along. And see, me, I've always talked with my hands. I mean, I grew up doing that. My mom's like, "Can you not sit still while you talk?" So it's just one of those things where I just always did it, so it just kind of comes natural. And here it's a little bit different because it's a more compact space, but I've learned how to move around without knocking holes in my monitors or bumping into the microphone. But yeah, it's just it's a little thing at a time. And as you listen to other voice actors when you're watching certain shows or cartoons, listen for what they're doing and just try to emulate that while you're watching. Your wife may think you look ridiculous, but you're learning something. So just smile and say, "Hey, this is practice." Unless she's like my wife and just enjoys the fact that I do what I do, and she encourages every bit of it. Right down to buying me props for my show.
All right, if you really, really want to go all out with it, find a local library and volunteer to read to kids.
That's a good one, too.
Yeah, I like that. I actually have a granddaughter that lives up in the Philadelphia area that I don't get to see as often as I like, and I asked my daughter-in-law if I could record a couple of books on a CD and send it up to her, so I'll be doing that this month prior to visiting her, and I thought I'd, give her the CDs. If anybody uses actually CDs anymore, I don't know. But,
well, then here's your challenge in doing that. Make sure to act physically.
Okay. Well, she wants Dr. Seuss. So.
Well, perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. Trial by fire.
We should bring some Dr. Seuss on here.
Yes.
I think legally we can do it since it's for demo purposes. That would be some excellent stuff.
Oh, yeah. It's also a great example of not emphasizing repeated words.
All right. Well, next week, green eggs and ham.
Or one fish, two fish.
That's the first one I thought of, but I think green eggs and ham is probably more challenging.
Yeah, but one of the things that I know is if we go into one fish, two fish, I guarantee you there are going to be people who are going to emphasize fish. So like one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish. And that's not right.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
That is wrong. You do not emphasize repeated words because if they're repeated, they're not important. It's the stuff that goes before or after that is. So one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish.
Yeah, that's going to be in my repertoire, actually, that one, and we'll see.
So got it. Done. Next week, it is going to be Dr. Seuss Week here on the VAU Mic Check. What
have I done?
Hey, you gave me some promo material there. Come on, that was good stuff.
That is excellent.
That was gold.
Yeah, that was in on your first read.
Next week on the Mic Check, the participants have to face their ultimate reading challenge, Dr. Seuss.
Okay, I'm going to clip that out and put it on the YouTube channel.
Yes. All
Get
right.
some of that good, nice reality TV style music going in the background.
Yeah, like the high drama audio in the back. Heck yeah.
Sting like they do at the end of Hell's Kitchen.
Although I did have a little bit too much of a pause in there. Could you cut that out a bit? Just snip it closer together? Yeah, that'd be great.
Man.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and end the recording here. Thank you very much, everybody, and we'll see you all next week.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay.